What if the story of humanity is far greater than what science textbooks or history classes have ever told us? What if behind all of our achievements and struggles there exists a secret blueprint, written not by coincidence but by a higher power? This question has haunted seekers and dreamers for centuries. In the early 20th century, an American man named Edgar Cayce, remembered as the sleeping prophet, dared to give an answer. He did not publish grand theories, and he did not establish scientific laboratories. Instead, he closed his eyes, entered a trance, and spoke words that seemed to come from a place beyond the physical world. Thousands of people came to him seeking not entertainment, but guidance and healing. They lay in silence while he murmured diagnoses of illnesses he had never studied or described visions of the soul's journey he had never personally lived. To many who listened, it felt as if he could see the invisible design of life itself. Among all the stories told about Cayce, there was one episode that was never meant to reach the public. It was a forbidden interview, erased from official records and remembered only in scattered fragments. In that conversation, he made a claim that could shake the foundation of both science and faith. Humanity is not a random accident of evolution. Humanity is part of a plan. To some listeners, these words were dangerous and even blasphemous. To others, they were a beacon of hope, a reminder that life carries meaning and purpose, that we are fragments of a higher design. This is why Cayce's message was silenced at the time. Yet it is also the reason why it continues to echo through generations. In this video, we will step into that hidden story. We will revisit the forbidden interview, the truths Cayce believed were given from beyond, and the possibility that humanity is far more than flesh and bone. Stay with us until the end, because this story is not just about Edgar Cayce, it is also about us, our origin, and our place in the universe. Before we begin, please subscribe, press like, and ring the notification bell so you will not miss future explorations into the mysteries of history and spirit. And share in the comments. Do you believe humanity exists by chance or by design? To understand the weight of Edgar Cayce's words, we must first know who he really was. He was not a celebrity, nor a man of wealth, nor a famous scholar. He was a modest individual born in Kentucky in 1877, raised in a family that valued honesty, prayer, and the simple life of rural America. As a child, Cayce showed no sign of being extraordinary. He struggled in school, often described as shy and reserved. Yet from an early age, he displayed an unusual sensitivity to prayer and meditation. He claimed that when he prayed with sincerity, he could understand lessons that had confused him before. His unusual gift truly revealed itself in adulthood, when Cayce lay down, closed his eyes, and slipped into a sleep-like state. He began to speak in a calm and steady voice. He would describe medical conditions of people he had never met and prescribe remedies that often astonished doctors. He became known as the sleeping prophet because his insights came while he appeared to be asleep. Over the years, Cayce gave more than 14,000 readings. People traveled great distances to see him, bringing their pain, their doubts, and their desperate questions. Some asked for help with illnesses that doctors could not cure. Others wanted to know about lost loved ones or the mysteries of their own spiritual path. Cayce himself admitted that the knowledge he spoke was not his own. He described himself as a channel, a conduit through which information flowed. He said the source was something greater than any human mind, a higher intelligence that many call God. Others may call it the universal source. But to Cayce it was always clear. The words did not originate from him. The combination of humility and mystery made him both admired and criticized. Admirers saw him as a man chosen by God to heal and guide. Critics accused him of fraud, of making things up, or of deceiving desperate people. Yet the sheer number of testimonies and the accuracy of many of his readings kept his reputation alive. By the time of his passing in 1945, Edgar Cayce had become one of the most fascinating figures of the 20th century. To this day, he is remembered as a man who bridged the ordinary and the extraordinary, the physical and the spiritual, the visible and the invisible. Among the thousands of readings Edgar Cayce gave, there is a story whispered more than spoken, a story said to have been erased from official archives. It is often called the Banned Interview, a conversation so provocative that it was hidden from public eyes. In this account, Cayce revealed a vision of humanity's true origin. Cayce declared that human beings are not simply the result of random evolution. He said we are part of a design, a carefully created plan that stretches beyond the limits of time. This statement alone was enough to challenge the prevailing scientific worldview of his day, and it also unsettled traditional religious authorities. When asked where such knowledge came from, Cayce answered that it was not his. He described himself as a channel connected to a higher intelligence. Sometimes he used the word God. At other times he spoke of the universal source. For him, these names pointed to the same reality, a power far greater than any human authority. In that interview, he also mentioned something remarkable: the Akashic records. He described them as a kind of cosmic library, a living archive of everything that has ever happened, everything happening now, and everything yet to come. He insisted that when he entered a trance, it was as if he could open that library and read from its endless shelves. To the authorities of his time, such words were unacceptable. To say that knowledge and destiny exist beyond church dogma or beyond laboratory proof was dangerous. Cayce's claim that the truth could make people free, independent of institutions or hierarchies, threatened both religious and political power. That is why this interview was never published openly. Whispers about the banned interview persisted, passed quietly from one listener to another. Some said fragments of his words survived in personal notes or letters, though never in official records, whether one believes in the details or not. The very idea that a man in trance could claim to see humanity's grand design continues to intrigue and disturb. In his forbidden words, Cayce insisted that a human being is much more than flesh and bones. He explained that every person is a vessel, carrying within a spark of the same higher power that shaped the universe. We are not only physical creatures, we are fragments of something eternal. To Cayce, human nature was a harmony of three dimensions: body, mind, and soul. The body is our physical form, fragile yet essential for life. The mind is the bridge that interprets experience and guides decisions. The soul is the eternal essence, the immortal part of us that never dies. True health and meaning, he said, come when all three are in balance. He rejected the idea that humanity emerged by accident. Evolution might explain the changes in biology, but it cannot explain the presence of a divine spark within us. That spark, Cayce claimed, is proof of a higher design. It means that our lives are not meaningless, but rather chapters in a much greater story. He described life as a pattern of purpose. Just as waves on the ocean's surface hide the calm depth beneath, the surface of daily life hides the deeper truth. Most people see only the waves of chance, struggle, and coincidence. Few realize that beneath all of it, the soul is part of a divine rhythm. To him, remembering who we truly are changes everything. When a person recalls that they are not just a body or a collection of memories, but a soul connected to the Creator, they live differently. They do not live as victims of fate, but as participants in a plan. This idea, Cayce warned, was both liberating and dangerous. Dangerous, because it gave ordinary people freedom. If life has meaning beyond institutions and beyond dogma, then no ruler, priest, or scientist can claim ultimate power over the soul. That was a truth too simple and too threatening to be allowed into the mainstream. For more than 4 decades, Edgar Cayce gave readings that covered every corner of human life. Most who came to him asked about illness. He would lie down, close his eyes, and slip into his trance. In a calm voice, he described internal organs as though he were seeing them directly. He prescribed treatments that often included diet, rest, and natural remedies. Many of these suggestions proved helpful, which made people believe he saw more than the ordinary eye could see. Britannica. But not all questions were medical. Some asked about the fate of lost relatives. Others wanted to understand their purpose in life. There were seekers who came desperate to know whether the soul continues after death. To each of these, Cayce spoke of the soul's eternal journey and the importance of aligning with the divine plan. He claimed that in trance he could access the Akashic records, the universal library of past, present, and future. From there, he spoke of forgotten civilizations, such as Atlantis, warning that arrogance and misuse of knowledge had destroyed them. He suggested that humanity faces similar choices in every age. Some of his prophecies were apocalyptic in tone. He spoke of entire cities that could be destroyed, of great natural upheavals, and of the rise and fall of nations. Yet he also insisted that disaster was not inevitable. He explained that when people transform within, when they awaken to their spiritual identity, outer events can shift. Cayce's most radical message was simple: the future is not fixed. Each person holds a key. By choosing love, service, and alignment with the higher power, humanity can change its course. He compared this truth to opening a hidden door. The key is willingness to accept who we truly are. These readings and prophecies were both inspiring and controversial. They attracted believers who saw hope in his words and skeptics who feared he was spreading illusion. Yet whether one accepts them or not, they remain part of the legacy of a man who looked beyond the surface of life and dared to speak of the invisible. The early 20th century was an age of rapid scientific progress and deep religious influence. Laboratories were proving new theories, while churches still held strong authority over morality and truth. Into this world came Edgar Cayce, a man who spoke of higher powers, invisible libraries, and the divine spark inside every person. To scientists, his claims sounded impossible. The idea of accessing a record of all time, the Akashic records, clashed with the materialist view that reality is only what can be measured and tested. Cayce's insistence that human beings carry a divine fragment challenged the assumption that consciousness is nothing more than brain activity. To religious authorities, his words were equally unsettling. By saying that truth comes directly from a higher source and not exclusively through churches or priests, Cayce undermined established authority. If ordinary people could connect with the divine within themselves, then institutions would lose their control. This is why many of his revelations were ignored, dismissed, or actively suppressed. The most radical part of his message was too simple. Truth brings freedom, and freedom meant no one could fully rule over another's soul. Cayce himself warned that this knowledge was dangerous. Dangerous not because it harmed, but because it could awaken. He explained that if people realized they are participants in a grand design, rulers and dogmas would no longer bind them. That idea was enough to frighten both the scientist who trusted only numbers and the priest who relied on obedience. The tension between Cayce and the world around him explains why his banned interview was never released publicly. It was not just a matter of controversy, it was a matter of control. Knowledge that could set people free was knowledge too dangerous to share. Edgar Cayce passed away in 1945 in Virginia Beach. Yet his words never disappeared. Official transcripts may have been hidden, but fragments of his ideas survived in letters, notes, and most importantly, in the lives of people who felt transformed by his readings. Whispered from one generation to another, his message lived on. At the heart of his legacy was a warning and a hope. He said the truth is simple. Every human being carries within a divine spark, and remembering this truth can change the course of a life. It is dangerous only because it removes control from external powers and returns it to the soul itself. Cayce used the metaphor of a key and a door. He explained that the key is the willingness to accept who we truly are. The door opens when we recognize that we are participants in a divine design, not accidents of fate. This recognition grants freedom, but also responsibility. He also spoke of eras that replace one another, guided by a great plan. Just as seasons change, humanity moves through ages of growth, decline, and renewal. To Cayce, history was not chaos, but rhythm. This gave his listeners both urgency and comfort. Urgency because choices matter. Comfort because there is purpose behind the flow of time. Today, his legacy continues to inspire. The Association for Research and Enlightenment, founded in 1931, still studies his work and keeps his archives available. Scholars debate his accuracy. Believers see him as a prophet, and skeptics remain unconvinced. Yet across all perspectives, his central lesson remains. Freedom is found when we remember the soul. In the end, Cayce's life teaches that the most powerful truths are often the simplest. We are not alone, and we are not meaningless. We are vessels of the same power that created the stars, and our lives are chapters in a story much greater than ourselves. Edgar Cayce's story remains one of the most fascinating mysteries of the 20th century. He was an ordinary man who entered extraordinary states of awareness. In a forbidden interview, he dared to say that we are not accidents of evolution, but participants in a divine design. He spoke of the body, the mind, and the soul as one harmony, of hidden records that preserve the past and the future, and of a truth so simple yet so powerful that it had to be silenced. From Cayce's life, we learn that freedom does not come from outside, but from within. Chiakoa Kuak Song is not money, status, or power. Chiakoa Kuak Song is remembering who we are and daring to live as vessels of the higher power that created us. This is the lesson he left behind, that every choice matters, and that we are not helpless but capable of shaping our destiny, whether one believes or doubts. Cayce's message challenges us to think more deeply about our place in the universe. If there is indeed a greater plan, then our lives have meaning far beyond survival. And even if one questions the details, the call to live with love, balance, and awareness remains valuable. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the hidden words of the sleeping prophet. If you found this story inspiring, make sure to subscribe, press like, and ring the notification bell so you will not miss our next exploration. And now, let me ask you, do you believe we are here by chance? Or do you believe we are here by design? Share your thoughts in the comments below.